All right.
Okay, so
Hello, everyone.
every one viewer that we have, we are reading the introduction of
Introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah.
And we'll get through the whole introduction today, I think.
I'm not a fan of Rise of Skywalker, by the way. I just am wearing this shirt because someone gave it to me. And I love Star Wars, so I just wanted to make it clear I wasn't advocating. Go watch. Oh wait, real quick. We watched the live-action Mulan movie because it came out yesterday.
I haven't seen it yet. Is it good?
Yes. Don't pay the $30.
Just wait.
I told Shruti I was going to pay
Okay.
to take her to see it in the theaters, but because of COVID, I'm
you
guessing
bought it
they
for
did
her.
this premiere thing.
They did, yeah. That's what happened.
It was. I mean, they don't have songs.
I was kind of interested in watching it. I thought
It's
it was
good.
going to be good.
I mean, it's definitely like kid-oriented.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad movie. Like the fight scenes, to me, I was like, man, I wish they'd be more bloody and like. But it's a kid movie. But it was very empowering for like Shruti. I was really happy that we watched it together. Cool. Or we all watched it. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, if you come over or
Watch it or something.
Sign into my Disney Plus, you can watch it till I think November is when it comes out for everybody.
Okay. Yeah, that or I'll just wait. I'm not like in a huge rush, but I definitely want to watch it.
Yeah, I mean,
But I thought it
was
interesting.
Good. It was nice.
I know some people were like upset because like what was it? Oh, because like Mushi's not in it and a couple other things. But I feel like
they don't have that in it, and it's not.
I don't mind the idea of actually changing it though. I kind of like I don't mind the
It was
reboots,
refreshing.
but like it's nice when you don't know everything that's gonna happen. Like if you do literally just a complete remake, it's almost feels like what's the point to me half the time? Like
they
if
have
you're gonna do
like,
line for line or like even 80% line for line. It becomes
I
kinda
agree.
Like all right, like I've seen this. Like,
What they did is like the
master or
bad
something.
guy was there. His name was slightly different, and then in the cartoon he has that falcon that rides on him.
Yeah.
And in the movie, the falcon is a witch that can shapeshift.
That makes sense.
And so
that's cool. It adds a little extra layer to it.
It was really cool, actually. All right.
Very good.
So introduction. There is a prayer, some prayers in the beginning that he puts in. Anyway, I'll start off with them. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshuram Minitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. Translation. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within the material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas meaning devotees of, worshippers of God. Practitioners of Bhakti Yoga.
Yeah.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatan Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopal Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Charya, Gadadhar, Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishaka. So all of these names he's describing are historical, figures. They're all contributors of different commentaries on the branches of the Vedas.
I was gonna say it's kind of like how Jesus.
I guess you could compare them to the apostles.
Yeah,
Jesus
the
had
apostles. The people that helped him spread his message. These are just like people that have had. Yeah. They're in stories interacting with Krishna at different times throughout his pastimes, and therefore
most of them are actually very recent historic figures within the last just several hundred years. Yeah. And the idea behind these prayers is, he doesn't want to come off as saying, this is my message that I'm spreading. Yeah. He's giving all the credit to those who came before. Yeah. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagatpate, Gopescha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namostute. O my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, excuse me, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu vayevacha patitanam pavanevyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnav devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and they are full of compassion for the fallen souls.
This next one that you're about to read, I feel like I use it like, if I'm not positive, like sometimes when I'm offering food, it's been so long and I'm so terrible about it. Like I know the first half and I don't always remember the second. Sometimes the second half comes to me, and other times it's like blank on it. Yeah. So I'll just like throw an extra one of those in there. It just feels like
hey,
when get this out of
can't go wrong.
Some extra blessings on this food, please.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. I offer my obeisances to Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas, and all others in the line of devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. Bhagavad Gita is also known as the Gita Upanishad. It is the essence of Vedic knowledge and one of the most important Upanishads in all Vedic literature. Of course, there are many commentaries in English on the Bhagavad Gita, and one may question the necessity for another one. This present edition can be explained in the following way. All right, right to the point. Recently, an American lady asked me to recommend an English translation of Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in America, there are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita available in English, but as far as I have seen, not only in America, but also in India, none of them can be strictly said to be authoritative, because in almost every one of them, the commentator has expressed his own opinions without touching the spirit of Bhagavad Gita as it is. The spirit of Bhagavad Gita is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita itself. It is just like this. If we want to take a particular medicine, then we have to follow the directions written on the label. We cannot take the medicine according to our own whim or the direction of a friend. It must be taken according to the directions on the label or the directions given by a physician. Pretty solid advice. Yeah. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita should be taken or accepted as it is directed by the speaker himself, and the speaker being Lord Krishna. The speaker of Bhagavad Gita is Lord Sri Krishna. Okay, redundant, I guess I keep my mouth shut. He is mentioned on every page of the Bhagavad Gita as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. Of course, the word Bhagavan sometimes refers to any powerful person or any powerful demigod. And certainly here Bhagavan designates Lord Sri Krishna as a great personality. But at the same time, we should know that Lord Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as is confirmed by all the great acharyas or spiritual masters. Like Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarka Swami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many other authorities of Vedic knowledge in India. The Lord himself also establishes himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita, and he is accepted as such in the Brahma Samhita and all of the Puranas. The Brahma Samhita those are the prayers that Lord Brahma speaks to Lord Vishnu. Especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Bhagavat Purana. Therefore, we should take Bhagavad Gita as it is, directed by the personality of Godhead himself. In the 4th chapter of the Gita, the Lord says, Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam vivasvan manave praha manur ikshvakave bravit. Evam param praptam imam raja rishayo vidhu sakalene mahata yogo nashta parantapa. Sa evayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratana bhakto si me sakacheti rahasyam hietad uttamam. Okay, my Sanskrit, the more I read it, the more it'll come back to me. Here, the Lord informs Arjuna that this system of yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, was first spoken to the sun god, and the sun god explained it to Manu, and Manu explained it to Ikshvaku. And in that way, by disciplic succession, one speaker after another, this yoga system has been coming down. But in course of time, it has become lost. Consequently, the Lord has to speak it again, this time to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He tells Arjuna that he is relating the supreme secret to him because Arjuna is his devotee and his friend. The purport of this is that Bhagavad Gita is a treatise which is especially meant for the devotee of the Lord. There are three classes of transcendentalists, namely the Jnani, the Yogi, and the Bhakta, or the impersonalist, the meditator, and the devotee. Here, the Lord clearly tells Arjuna that he is making him the first receiver of a new parampara, or a disciplic succession, because the old succession was broken. It was the Lord's wish, therefore, to establish another parampara, the same line of thought that was coming down from the sun god to others, and it was his wish that his teaching be distributed anew by Arjuna. He wanted Arjuna to become the authority in understanding the Bhagavad Gita. So we see that the Bhagavad Gita is instructed to Arjuna, especially because Arjuna was a devotee of the Lord, a direct student of Krishna, and his intimate friend. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is best understood by a person who has qualities similar to Arjuna's. My new saying that I've been trying to do more recently since I've been reading is, it's not like I made it up, but you hear people say, like, bumper stickers, what would Jesus do? Uh-huh. My new thing is, what would Arjuna do? What would Arjuna do?
Were you on that bus with Gora? This might seem a little out there to anybody,
what?
But where they chanted, no, it was like years ago, I think. I don't know who he was traveling with. I wasn't involved. I want to say it was a bunch of kids from like Mayapur or something that he was with, like maybe in India. And they chanted, it was like really, they heard that if you chanted all the names of Arjuna, all the various names of his qualities basically, all the naming of his qualities in a certain order, it would bring about rain.
Yeah.
And apparently, it could have been coincidence, whatever, I don't know. But according to him, when him and all the people on the bus chanted it, like the rain clouds came right in and started pouring rain. And then I want to say, and I could be misremembering and misquoting him,
it was on the boys.
Yeah, it was on the boys. So you were there?
I wasn't there,
you
but he told me about that.
Yeah. And then I feel like he said they chanted it backwards then, like they said all the names in reverse order, and the rain went away. But I'm not positive. I could be misquoting that.
Yeah,
I think he said that.
I remember him telling us that story. We'll have to ask him again.
I don't think he was saying it was necessarily like in the same second, but it was within like a minute or two. Like it was pretty direct. To where it felt to him like it was like legitimate.
In the Mahabharata, we got to read that, man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So good. But there's a pastime where, if you, according to the Mahabharata, and the specific pastime, they don't tell you which order it is, so I have no way of knowing. Yeah. But apparently, if you do
it in the right order,
it supposedly is meant because Arjuna is the son of Indra. So
just create a computer program that try all
I know, right?
for you. How many options?
But I'm sure devotion is like an ingredient.
Yeah,
involved
I'm sure.
In that, so.
Yeah, you can't just spit it out.
But yeah, no, that's funny. I remember Gore telling me about that. That is to say, he must be a devotee in direct relationship with the Lord. As soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he also has a direct relationship with the Lord. That is a very elaborate subject matter, but
briefly. Is yours like messed up the way it typed it?
B-R-I-E-A with a thing and a Y?
Mine says briefly.
Well, see, Prabhupada uses all kinds of big words, so now I want to know if that's actually a word or if it's not.
I think they might have just misprinted yours.
I think they probably did.
Let me see. Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be briefly, because mine definitely says briefly in the exact same spot. I thought you were like having a problem. I'm like, you can't read briefly? Like, you really had a rough week. It's like, I'm done.
I'm done!
I gotta sleep.
Just Jesus Christ. Okay. But briefly, it can be stated that a devotee is in a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of 5 different ways. And now this obviously extends...
There's probably multiple ways within.
Well, I mean, it extends to not just Christian, or not just, our spiritual belief system, but any of them.
Yeah.
And that's the really nice thing. If you take this and you just listen to it with an open mind, it at least asks you, makes you ask some questions that opens your mind. So one may be a devotee in a passive state, in an active state, as a friend. I'm sorry, I'm abbreviating all of this. One may be a devotee in a passive state. 2, one may be a devotee in an active state. 3, one may be a devotee as a friend. 4, one may be a devotee as a parent. Or 5, one may be a devotee as a conjugal lover. The last being the most intimate relationship that you can have with God. Arjuna was in a relationship with the Lord as a friend. Of course, there is a gulf of difference between this friendship and the friendship found in the material world. This is transcendental friendship, which cannot be had by everyone, unless you decide to cultivate it with, between you and God. Of course, everyone has a particular relationship with the Lord, and that relationship is evoked by the perfection of devotional service. But in the present status of our life, not only have we forgotten the Supreme Lord, but we have forgotten our eternal relationship with the Lord. Every living being, out of many, many billions and trillions of living beings, has a particular relationship with the Lord eternally. That is called Swarupa. By the process of devotional service, one can revive that Swarupa, and that stage is called Swarupa Siddhi, perfection of one's constitutional position. So Arjuna was a devotee, and he was in touch with the Supreme Lord in friendship. How Arjuna accepted this Bhagavad Gita should be noted. His manner of acceptance is given in the 10th chapter.
I want to brush up on this. Read these.
Okay, 10:12 to 10:14.
Arjuna uvacha param brahma param dhamma pavitram paramam bhavan purusam sasvatam divyam adidevam ajam vibhum.
Nice.
And then 13. Ahustvam risaya sarve darvasya naradas tata asito devalo vyasaha svayam chaiva bravasimi. 14. Sarvam etad ritam manaye yanmam vadeshe keshava nahite bhagavan vyaktim vidor devana danavaha. Wow.
Nice. You had the meter down too.
I
neglected the meter when I read mine.
Pronunciations, but yeah, it's good to keep practicing.
I have been, when I'm reading, I've actually, rather than skipping over the Sanskrit, I force myself to say it 2 or 3 times so I can, I used to be able to rattle dude, I had memorized all the way up to the 6th chapter by heart. I can nail every single verse.
I memorized the first, I think I memorized the first 2 chapters.
Yeah,
in full.
Which thinking back, like 100 verses.
I can't believe it. I'm like, how did our young minds, dude? That's crazy. I remember doing it. I think I might have messed up close to the end of 2 because I remember being tested on it. I think in the last couple of verses.
It'll come back to you. Yeah,
that's
it's like muscle memory, man. It's crazy.
Did I tell you in high school they said, you know how we had to have a language in high school, right?
Yeah.
I never did a language in high school, but you have to in order to graduate, and I graduated. So. When I homeschooled, I told them I learned Sanskrit. And then they were like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, can you say anything? I'm like, Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmaksetre kuruksetre samveta yusava mamaka pandavastra.
I took 2 years of Spanish. What the? fuck was I doing?
Man, I slid through high school so easy.
Props, dude. I didn't even think
They were
of
like,
that.
nice. And they were like all like had no clue what the heck was going on, so they didn't want to seem racist, I think. Or whatever, you know, like they didn't want to seem prejudiced. And they were like, cool.
They don't want to admit that they had no idea.
Yeah. So they were like, cool.
Very knowledgeable.
Very knowledgeable.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll just pass you on that. Sounds good.
Wow. Damn, that's a good one right there.
It's the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita.
Honestly,
all they would have had to do was open up the Bhagavad Gita and go, wait a minute.
Memorizing the first chapter even, that's like, what, 45 verses?
That is a lot.
That's probably more Spanish than I learned in 2 years of Spanish in high school.
Yeah. I wouldn't know.
Oh my God.
I would not know.
That's hilarious.
Should I keep reading or you want
Yeah,
to keep
translation.
Okay. Arjuna said, these are the translations, the verses. You are the supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the supreme abode and purifier, the absolute truth and the eternal divine person. You are the primal God, transcendental and original, and you are the unborn and all-pervading beauty. All the great sages like Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa proclaim this of you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the gods nor demons, O Lord, know thy personality. After hearing Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna accepted Krishna as Param Brahma, the Supreme Brahman. Every living being is Brahman, but the Supreme Living Being, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the Supreme Brahman. Was I saying Brahman? I don't know what I was saying. I feel like I was saying something weird. I kept like pausing because I felt like I was screwing something up. Supreme Brahman. Paramdhamma means that he is the supreme rest or abode of everything. Pavitram means that he is pure, untainted by material contamination. Purusham means that he is the supreme enjoyer. Divyam, transcendental. Adi Devam, the supreme personality of Godhead. Ajam, the unborn. And Vibhum, the greatest, the all-pervading.
I really love Sanskrit. It just, I don't know.
It sounds nice.
I was listening to some YouTube video somewhere. I don't remember where. I need to dig it up in my history. But they were talking about how, maybe it was one of these podcasts from Wisdom of the Sages.
Okay.
I don't remember. But they were talking about how the actual sound of the Sanskrit words elicits a certain response in your brain that inclines you towards feeling a certain way. That's why the mantras are so powerful. When you chant a mantra and you're meditating, the sound vibration actually elicits a neurological response in your brain,
really cool.
Which is really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why reading out loud
really
is
interesting.
important.
Yeah.
Reading in your head is not the same at all. Now one may think that because Krishna was the friend of Arjuna, Arjuna was telling him all this by way of flattery. But Arjuna, just to drive out this kind of doubt from the minds of the readers of Bhagavad Gita, substantiates these praises in the next verse, when he says that Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not only by himself, but by authorities like the sage Narada, Asita. Ashita or Asita? I think it's Asita.
Yeah.
Devala, Vyasadeva, and so on. These are great personalities who distribute the Vedic knowledge as it is accepted by all acharyas. Therefore, Arjuna tells Krishna that he accepts whatever he says to be completely perfect. Sarvam etad ratam mane. I accept everything you say to be true. Arjuna also says that the personality of the Lord is very difficult to understand, and that he cannot be known even by the great demigods. This means that the Lord cannot even be known by personalities greater than human beings. So how can a human being understand Sri Krishna without becoming his devotee? Good point. Mm-hmm. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita should be taken up in a spirit of devotion. One should not think that he is equal to Krishna, nor should he think that Krishna is an ordinary personality, or even a very great personality. Lord Sri Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, at least theoretically, according to the statements of Bhagavad Gita, or the statements of Arjuna, the person who is trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita. We should therefore at least theoretically accept Sri Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, and with that submissive spirit, we can understand the Bhagavad Gita. Unless one reads the Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit, it is very difficult to understand the Bhagavad Gita because it is a great mystery.
I think that's a really important point. Because here he's saying, and this is, it's interesting because, so I'm sorry.
In case you forgot you're reading the Bhagavad Gita, by the way, he's getting the Bhagavad Gita in every sentence. The Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita. When you put this book down to read the introduction, you're like, I know what I was reading. The Bhagavad Gita.
What are you reading? The Bhagavad Gita!
I remember.
Well, no, it's interesting
smart,
because
actually. Probably why he did it. Honestly.
Yours is, we looked at this, right? Yours is one of
different?
the original printings.
Yeah, it's an older one.
And so it's interesting to read this. Grammatically, they've just changed, which even though this is a updated version, I've still been finding some typos. Not a big deal, but
yeah, there's a few.
But like the translation, for example, slight differences. But even in my bit right here, it didn't. It only said theoretically once here, and theoretically. But I like that he says that because it makes it more approachable for someone who is not a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga.
Cut out some repetition, but I kind of feel like, and I don't know, I'm not an expert on these, but I kind of feel like the reason he's repeating it is because he wants it to stick. Like I said, the Bhagavad Gita, when you put down after you finish reading the introduction, you know what you read. Yeah. You won't forget it, and you can tell your buddy a coffee when you have coffee in the morning. I was reading the Bhagavad Gita this morning. Like, you know what you were reading, even if you're like not at all familiar with it. If you read the whole introduction, you know.
So I picked up the Bhagavad Gita.
Wow, what's that?
I turned to page 1 of the Bhagavad Gita, and it blew me away. That Bhagavad Gita, I couldn't put it down. Oh,
the basic idea of the Bhagavad Gita.
But it's nice, the introduction, even though in the beginning there was like prayers and a whole lot of names that if you're didn't grow up familiar with Indian culture and Sanskrit, you're going to be like,
yeah, that's just true. Because I'm used to the way.
But it's very open. It makes it approachable. He wants to make it very clear. It's a long introduction. It's about 30 pages.
20, yeah, it's almost 30.
But
it's just barely.
I've read the introduction before. It's one of the little paperback books, and that actually fired me up to want to read it on my own because I'm like, well, hot damn.
Yeah. Because
he very well encapsulates how we should approach the Bhagavad Gita. And just like if you're wanting to figure out something scientific that you don't know, and you go read a science journal, you have to approach it under the assumption that whoever wrote this journal, they're a doctor, or they're a physicist, or they're an astronomer, and they've been doing this shit for 20 years.
Right.
So like you have to assume they're an authority.
Tells you how to help yourself.
Yeah.
You have to take their advice.
Exactly. So now when you walk away from the article, you don't have to believe it. Right. But while you're reading it, if you want to take away from it...
For the purpose of understanding
For the purpose of understanding it, you just assume that they're right and what they're saying is the truth. And if you just, while you're reading it, make that assumption, it prevents you from throwing up these blocks like, oh, I don't believe that. Oh, that's weird. Nope, I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of, until you finish it, you just assume that, okay, what they're saying is legit.
It's like when you watch a superhero movie, you know Superman can't fly.
Of course.
But in order to appreciate the story...
Suspension of disbelief.
Suspension of disbelief. It's to suspend your disbelief, even if you don't believe it, or else you're not getting anything out of it. If you sat there and watched a superhero movie and were like, humans can't do that, that's ridiculous. This doesn't make any sense. And then you just want to enjoy the movie.
Who uses a hammer to fly?
Yeah.
Well, come on, man. Yeah, no, it's... I'm getting excited just getting into this. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Good. No, you're good. I think I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. Unless one reads the Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit, it is very difficult to understand the Bhagavad Gita because it is a great mystery. Just what is the Bhagavad Gita? The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from the nescience of material existence. Every man is in difficulty in so many ways, as Arjuna also was in difficulty in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna surrendered unto Krishna, and consequently, this Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Not only Arjuna, but every one of us is full of anxieties because of this material existence. Tell me about it. Jeez. Our very existence...
Especially in 2020.
Yeah. Our very existence is in... Whoa. Oh my goodness, where did I live? I lost myself. Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. Actually,
Wait, read that again.
This is weird, right? Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. Am I skipping something?
No, you're not. Wait, let's let that sink in. I think that's
our very
existence
is in the atmosphere of non-existence.
Not only Arjuna, but every one
that.
of us is full of anxieties because of this material existence. Our very existence, so our physical existence is in the atmosphere
of non-existence.
I think what he means by that is that we're so full of anxiety, we're not busy in experiencing the moment. We're non-existing in the moment by worrying about the past and the future all the time.
I think he's about to
That's what I
further.
am thinking.
I think he's going to tell us.
Oh, explain it further.
Yeah.
Keep my mouth shut. Jesus Christ.
Actually, we are not meant to be threatened by non-existence. Our existence is eternal. But somehow or other, we are put into asat. Asat refers to that which does not exist.
So meaning the material body.
Out of so many human beings who are suffering, there are a few who are actually inquiring about their position as to what they are, why they are put into this awkward position, and so on. Unless one is awakened to this position of questioning his suffering, unless he realizes that he doesn't want suffering, but rather wants to make a solution to all sufferings, then one is not to be considered a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiry is awakened in one's mind. In the Brahma Sutra, this inquiry is called Brahma Jignasa. Every activity of the human being is to be considered a failure unless he inquires about the nature of the Absolute. Therefore, those who begin to question why they are suffering or where they came from and where they shall go after death goodness, are proper students for understanding Bhagavad Gita. The sincere student should also have a firm respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a student was Arjuna.
Damn. That was a very powerful paragraph there.
Yeah. It's kind of like earlier we talked about, if you're going to be like an animal, then there's no point in having the ability to reason like we are as humans, etc. Until you start to really use that ability.
Well, this is the whole so in the other book that we were reading, they say if you don't use the human form of life, then so it's not a punishment that
No. It's like, oh, you really wanted to enjoy that type of lifestyle?
I gave you you had, or not even I gave you, your own karmic reactions gave you the human form of life, and then you utilized your life in an animalistic way.
Right.
Therefore,
you want to be an animal.
So now you want to be an animal, so now you're going to have to go and... I'll give you a body that lets you enjoy... you're a human being and you want to run around and sleep with a bunch of people. You have to deal with all these headaches, right? Oh no, now my baby mama's mad at me, and now I got to pay child support.
So like,
a dog doesn't have to pay child support. He runs around banging everything.
Yeah.
And he's living the life, licking his balls, and like...
Yeah, so they're like, oh, you want to do that? So go ahead. Here you go. Yeah, it's not a punishment until we get sick of these things, and then we're like, why are we in this misery?
Yeah, woe is me, but you did it to yourself.
We did it. Yeah,
you did it to yourself.
We wanted it. Lord Krishna descends specifically to reestablish the real purpose of life. When man forgets that purpose. Okay, let me read that again. Lord Krishna descends specifically to reestablish the real purpose of life when man forgets that purpose. Even then, out of many, many human beings who awaken, there may be one who actually enters the spirit of understanding his position, and for him, this Bhagavad Gita is spoken. Actually, we are all followed by the tiger of nescience, but the Lord is very merciful upon living entities, especially human beings. To this end, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, making his friend Arjuna his student.
Don't let that tiger get you.
I can't, I'm like, I need to keep clearing
that's
my
right,
throat.
I'll keep going.
I don't know what is up there. I might need some tea or something. I've been going all
Rona. God forbid.
No, it's not.
I'll pick up.
All right. One last one. All right.
All right. We'll cut that out or something. Fuck. Being an associate of Lord Krishna, Arjuna was above all ignorance. But Arjuna was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, just to question Lord Krishna about the problems of life, so that the Lord could explain them for the benefit of future generations of human beings and chalk out the plan of life. The man Then man could act accordingly and perfect the mission of human life. The subject of the Bhagavad Gita entails the comprehension of 5 basic truths. So that, remember Mother Yasoda, shoot, I meant to tell you, speaking of which, I need to check up, apparently Mother Yasoda's, I haven't heard any news update
From
or whatever.
Mayapur, you mean?
Vrindavan, yeah, she's apparently leaving her body, or maybe she's already left her body, so I wrote her a nice email.
You told me that. You told me that. I didn't.
But she was one of my teachers when I was in Gurukul, and she taught me Sanskrit and taught me how to read. Like, she is actually one of the ones that kindled the fire of loving to read. Right?
Oh, really?
I
Nice.
over that, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Shit. So that she made a little study guide, right? And now that we're doing this,
we should use that.
I can bring that next time.
Yeah.
But this is one of the things that she points out in there, is that the Bhagavad Gita, if you take nothing else away from it, is these 5 basic truths.
Yeah.
First of all, the science of God is explained. And then the constitutional position of the living entities, the jivas. There is Ishvara, the controller, and there are the jivas, the living entities, which are controlled. If a living entity says that he is not controlled, but that he is free, then he is insane. The living being is controlled in every respect, at least in his conditioned life. So in the material body, regardless of what it is, we're being controlled. So in the Bhagavad Gita, the subject matter deals with the Ishvara, the supreme controller, and the jivas, the controlled living entities, prakriti, material nature, and time. So, great, we're getting into it, man. Prakriti, material nature. So that's God. God doesn't physically sit there and control you. His energy, He's so powerful, He doesn't have to do that. His energy is what controls us, and His energy constitutes time, the duration of existence of the whole universe.
When you say controls, it's like what we were talking about earlier. His energy is what's creating this sandbox.
The sandbox for us to play in.
And then we have all these
and
rules and regulations that we want to play with, like don't throw sand in each other's face, and then you do, and then things progress.
So time, the duration of existence of the whole universe, or the manifestation of material nature. Karma, activity. So that's what we're being controlled by. We're bound by time and we're bound by karma. And those are the rules of the sandbox. Karma, activity, and time are also discussed. The cosmic manifestation is full of different activities. All living entities are engaged in different activities. From the Bhagavad Gita, we must learn what God is, what the living entities are, what prakriti is, prakriti being material nature, what the cosmic manifestation is, so the world around us.
Is it prakriti?
Prakriti.
It's not a long E. Prakriti.
Prakriti. Yeah.
I only say that because I heard Mammy say it like that, I think, and I'm just realizing what the heck she was saying. Because, all these older devotees that know so much more than us, and you hear them say it, but I have no idea if she's...
Well, if it's a long I, it has this dash above it.
That's
Ishvara.
Okay.
Ishvara. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So
I forgot all of that stuff. I don't know what any of that means anymore. Like, it's all like, I feel like I do, and I think I'm wrong about a lot of it.
What actually, there's a rule and pronunciation guide in the back for the people that. Yep.
That'd be pretty cool. Maybe I'll look at that while you're reading.
Yeah.
I can try to refresh my memory.
I'm sorry. Oh, prakriti. Oh, okay. From the Bhagavad Gita, we must learn what God is, what the living entities are, what prakriti is, what the cosmic manifestation is, how it is controlled by time, and what the activities of the living entity are. So he's telling us here that these are the things the Bhagavad Gita is going into depth about, those are great things, because those are things that, we can kind of relate to. We relate to time. Yeah. We relate to the world around us. We relate to karma. I mean, even if people don't want to believe in karma that carries across lifetimes, just the fact of, I hit my finger with a hammer, it hurts now. Action, reaction. I drive drunk, I crash, I die, or I kill somebody else. There is action and reaction that we see all around us. So these things are, they're undeniable truths of things around us in the world. Out of these 5 basic subject matters in the Bhagavad Gita, it is established that the Supreme Godhead, or Krishna, or Brahman, or the Supreme Controller, or Paramatma, whatever you want to choose to call him, or God, whatever. You may use whatever name you like, is the greatest of all. The living beings are in quality like the Supreme Controller. So we have the same qualities, not the same quantity. For instance, the Lord has control over the universal affairs of material nature, as will be explained in later chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Material nature is not independent. She is acting under the direction of the Supreme Lord. As Lord Krishna says, Mayad yakshena prakriti suyate sa characharam. I'm not sure where that's from. This material nature is working under my direction. I'm assuming Bhagavad Gita, but it doesn't say which verse or chapter. When we see wonderful things happening in cosmic nature, we should know that behind this cosmic manifestation, there is a controller. Nothing could be manifested without being controlled. It is childish not to consider the controller. For instance, a child may think that an automobile is quite powerful, or is quite wonderful to be able to run without a horse or other animal pulling it. But a sane man knows the nature of the automobile's engineering arrangement. Wow. God, his analogies are always like so spot on. He always knows that behind the machinery there is a man, a driver. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the driver under whose direction everything is working. Now the jivas, or the living entities, have been accepted by the Lord, as we will note in later chapters, as his parts and parcels. A particle of gold is also gold. A drop of water from the ocean is also salty. And similarly, we, the living entities, being part and parcel of the Supreme Controller, Ishvara, or Bhagavan, Lord Sri Krishna, have all of the qualities of the Supreme Lord in minute quantity, because we are minute Ishvaras, subordinate Ishvaras. We are trying to control nature, as presently we are trying to control space or planets. And this tendency to control is there because it is also in Krishna. But although we have a tendency to lord it over material nature, we should know that we are not the Supreme Controller. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. So when we just accept things as they come to us, that doesn't mean like, I think a common misconception that some people may end up having, not just about this particular, but like Eastern religions, right? And I mean kind of more of like that stereotypical like, oh, you just want to go be a yogi and smoke ganja and just not do anything like.
Right.
And people use that stereotype to just kind of like discount all of
like the hippies.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Goddamn hippies, useless. That would be false renunciation, like we talked about in the other book. False renunciation, giving up, walking away from your wife and kids and your duty. I'm going to go be a yogi and meditate in the woods.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works. But when you also are on the other end of the spectrum where you're trying really, really hard to control things and, bend nature to your will and do all this, that's when you end up accruing.
I think we're supposed to
you become more entangled in karma.
We're supposed to try to do our service, not control the outcome.
Yeah. Do it, and whether you fail or succeed.
You're still acting on things. You're still executing on things. You're just not supposed to sit there.
You're supposed to do your duty without being attached to the result.
Yeah, which is hard.
It is really hard and that's our ego. We get caught up in it. Oh man, I'm so good. I did this. Hell yeah! Look at what I did. Even something as simple as painting, right? Oh yeah, look at my new, I painted our house and people come in and I'm like, yeah, look at the colors we did. It's easy to, in the moment, become proud of something you accomplished without actually acknowledging that you really didn't accomplish anything. You didn't make that paint. You didn't, you worked and made some money and went to the store and bought it, but somebody else did all that. All you did was, or you paid someone to paint it or whatever the case is. So it's really easy for us to God, our ego is so disgusting.
To get proud about stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you should just do a bad job, the way you can't be proud about it.
Yeah, right? Let's just wallow in filth. No, then you become a pig in your next life.
That's not the answer.
Oh, man. Okay, what is material nature? This is also explained in the Gita as inferior prakriti, inferior nature. The living entity is explained as the superior prakriti. So matter, or the physical world around us, is inferior to the life force within us. I'm taking away from that.
Right.
Prakriti is always under control, whether inferior or superior. Prakriti is the female energy of the Lord, and she is controlled by the Lord, just as the activities of a wife are controlled by the husband. Prakriti is also subordinate, predominated by the Lord, who is the predominator. Obviously, we don't live today in a world where, it's a... Well, I guess you could kind of argue that it's patriarchal still, just due to, how things have been, but... Anyway, I don't want to get into... Oh, God. But, when he wrote this, he grew up in India. He lived, long ago. And so in India, it was very customary for the wife to not be going out and working. It was similar to how it was here in the 50s and 40s. Yeah. It was, wife stays at home, takes care of the family. Husband's duty was to go out and work and whatever. So that's why he's, saying that. Because I'm sure someone out there is going to read it and, social justice warrior their way out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are some things in here that sometimes sound very much like that, but I also think that it's, like you said, it's kind of talking about a different time.
It's a
Also, a conversation I think I've mentioned probably at some other point in reading, but knowing that we may gain, more than one viewer at some point that maybe hadn't heard that conversation. It was a different time in a lot of ways. Number one being that I think we hadn't gotten to this point that we're at now where everything is feeling as miserable as it is.
Yeah.
And that the husband was required to do a lot more to care for his wife. Like, the husbands nowadays compared to the husbands back then would have been ostracized.
Well, look at all these dudes
you
all
can't be
skipping out on their child support and doing whatever.
Even if you're not even doing that, they were so emotionally caring for the wife.
Yeah.
They were
a good
husband was emotionally caring for the wife. They were providing all these nice lifestyle. They were affording a lifestyle so the woman could live happily and had a maidservant assistant
at home,
right? That she was able to afford someone to help care for the kids, someone to help clean there was. Or if there was lower class where you didn't have as much money or whatever, but it was very much like a partnership where they were doing it together.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like the husband was coming home and going, ugh, but there was on the viewpoint, because the men were very much back in the day, fighting, etc. So the men were protecting and care and in that way. And so therefore it's they control.
Yeah.
It's coming from that perspective. But yeah, I agree. It can sound a little bit borderline to people that are just hearing this for the first time. I feel like that's the thing that most alarms me when I'm talking to someone about this, or if they're reading it at first.
Yeah.
And it's hard to explain, honestly, but you don't see that from Prabhupada didn't act like that.
No,
though.
He didn't at all. And that's the common misconception.
Even the separation, my understanding is the separation in the temple room, of the fact that men and women stand on different sides in the temple room, was not something he did. I'm not positive because I wasn't there, but that's my understanding, was that is something that has happened since he didn't make people separate.
It was more of a fanatical...
That was an Indian thing, apparently. And we have a lot of Indian donors that help out the temple, etc. So, of course, you want to be respectful to what they would like. They would like it to be separated because that's a Hindu or whatever the reason, wherever that's coming from. I don't know the details.
Little things trickle
in. But that wasn't something that was something that came from an Indian culture, not from Vaishnavism.
Well, if you actually...
I mean, you're not supposed to be holding hands in kirtan either, but it wasn't supposed to be
segregated. People take his words out of context many, many times.
Well, if you take one sentence out of here, it can sound real bad.
But when you actually get into some of his translations later...
He explains it pretty well.
He explains it very well.
But I'm glad you brought that up, because it is something important to say. Take it with a grain of salt. It'll be better explained as we go.
Yeah. For sure. Because, God, in the internet world today...
It's not a sexist statement.
Say the wrong thing and
it sounds like it could be.
Which, I mean, if you say something and you're being overtly nasty, people should call you out on it.
Oh, yeah.
And, but... God. This is one of the reasons I stay off social media. Is just it's so much better for my mental health. God. Prakriti is always subordinate, predominated by the Lord, who is the predominator. The living entities and material nature are both predominated, controlled by the Supreme Lord. According to the Gita, the living entities, although parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are to be considered Prakriti. This is clearly mentioned in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Aparayam itastvanyam prakritim vidhime param jiva bhutam. Oh, so it just cuts off. Okay. Jiva bhutam. This material nature is my inferior Prakriti, but beyond this is another Prakriti, Jiva Bhutam, the living entities.
That's interesting. That's how you use this?
There's like layers of it. Man, it's like...
They cut off a bunch of the Sanskrit in yours. I wonder why.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Material nature itself is constituted by 3 qualities. See, from an analytical point of view, if you look at the philosophy, and dude, it's so deep and so detailed and complex, and yeah, it's very mind-blowing. Material nature itself is then constituted by 3 qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Above these modes, there is eternal time, and by a combination of these modes of nature, and under the control and purview of eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. So there it explains everything. Karma is the sum total of your actions under the 3 modes of nature, bound by time.
Yeah.
So as time goes on, it dictates that we act under either the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance. Mode of passion being, oh, I gotta work really hard. Oh, I want this. Being controlled by your lust, greed, anger, and then ignorance is just sloth, whatever the Greeks would say, right? Sloth, just gluttony, laying around, binge eating, binge watching, whatever we do, so much mode of ignorance. And then mode of goodness would be, eating healthy, working out, going to the gym, doing yoga, swimming, something that's kind of, empowering. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities.
I have so much passion and ignorance. Oh my God.
Oh, me too. Good God. This is probably like the most mode of goodness thing I do.
I've definitely. That's the thing I'm doing.
For instance, suppose I am a businessman and I have worked very hard with intelligence and have amassed a great bank balance. Then I am an enjoyer. But then say I have lost all my money in business. Then I am a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the result of our work, or we suffer the result. This is called karma. So when you explain it like that, it's like, well, duh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's a big problem is a lot of people hear the word karma and don't really know what it entails. And they just kind of assume it's like a tit for tat of the universe. And I mean, it kind of is, but there's so much more that goes into it, really.
Yeah, I mean, and also, especially if you're not doing so great at this point in your current big body or whatever, it's not something that you necessarily want to be told that it's because
it's
something
your own
you did.
fault.
And it's like you don't even remember what you did to get, because it's a lot of times from past life, and so it just feels very like, well, like it's almost like
that's
blaming
unfair.
The victim, like people, that's a big thing about that, especially if somebody has any like health issues, whatever, to blame them, like obviously it's like, I think it's not from coming, like you're saying, it's not coming from a blame perspective. No. Again, it's just the balancing out of the energy. Every action has an equal opposite reaction in this universe. So if you maybe cause someone harm at some point, you have to come back and experience that harm, which is why we should try to be mode of goodness, not be doing things like that, and beyond mode of goodness, become a Vaishnava, because when you do things for the Lord, it doesn't create any karma. Because even if you live a wonderful life and you're the best person
even
ever,
if you're all mode of
you got to
goodness.
come back now to get all the good results. Yep. You might live a really happy
you're damn
life,
right about
maybe
that.
5 more happy lives. But at some point,
but
unless you do Vaishnava
but then in those
activity,
happy lives, you could accidentally kill someone, and now you got to come back for that. And
or
it's like
whatever the case may be.
quicksand.
You do something, or because of how nicely you were born in this rich family, then you become an a-hole in the next life, or whatever. And then you're back,
man.
Because being a
that's
good
why he
guy,
says we got to get out.
Yeah, you got to get out. They're like, do Vaishnava stuff, get rid of your karma.
Yeah.
Chant the
no,
prayers.
you're damn right, man.
I don't know if we should keep reading or not. We're on page 9, and we're hitting an hour. So we might want to, that seemed like I was reading ahead a little bit, and I feel like it's starting a whole new section there. right? Just finish talking about karma.
Let me finish this.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Let's finish this page out.
Okay.
I think this page... finish until the is not eternal on the next page. The end of like the talking about karma, basically. It says karma is not eternal. And there. I'll tell you.
Okay. Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, Jiva, the living entity, Prakriti, nature, Kala, eternal time, and Karma, activity, are all explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Out of these 5, the Lord, the living entities, material nature, and time are eternal. So karma is not eternal. God is eternal. Our spirit souls, us, our true selves are eternal. Material nature and time.
The Lord, living entities, material nature, and time are eternal.
So karma is not eternal. Okay.
No.
The manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. Some philosophers say that the manifestation of material nature is false, but according to the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, or according to the philosophy of the Vaishnavas, this is not so. The manifestation of the world is not accepted as false. It is accepted as real, but temporary. It is likened unto a cloud which moves across the sky, or the coming of the rainy season, which nourishes the grain. As soon as the rainy season is over, and as soon as the cloud goes away, all the crops which were nourished by the rain dry up. Similarly, this material manifestation takes place at a certain interval, stays for a while, and then disappears. So even from a scientific point of view, I mean, you know, they say, oh, Big Bang, everything expands, and eventually all the stars die out, and then entropy, and there's nothing, right?
Yep.
So, okay.
Yeah.
that, you know, it doesn't contradict right there. Such are the workings of Prakriti. But this cycle is working eternally. Therefore, Prakriti is eternal. It is not false. The Lord refers to this as my Prakriti. This material nature is the separated energy of the Supreme Lord. And similarly, the living entities are also the energy of the Supreme Lord, although they are not separated but eternally related. So the Lord, the living entity, material nature, and time are all interrelated and are all eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma may be very old indeed, but we are suffering or enjoying the results of our activity from time immemorial. However, we can change the results of our karma or our activity, and this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. I guess an analogy springs to mind. Heroin user, you could be strung out on heroin for a very long time, but eventually, if you have the willpower, you can choose to get clean. And after that, you're good. So the goal of a Vaishnava is to get clean of being attached to material nature, being hooked on material nature.
Yeah.
We are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know. Man, I need to go to rehab. Holy material world rehab. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt to gain relief from the actions and reactions of all of these activities. But this is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Well, you want to stop
I'll take over and read till the karma's not eternal, just one more paragraph, basically. I think that kind of, not completely wraps up, obviously, because we're going to stop in the middle, but it kind of finishes it seems to still be kind of talking about
there we go.
Here.
It's on the next page for me right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is this a good place to stop? Let's see if it's still karma, because I don't want to... I think it's still talking about karma. The position of Ishvara is that of supreme consciousness. The jivas, or the living entities, being parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are also conscious. Because I read that a little weird, but because they are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, they are also conscious. Both the living entity and material nature are explained as Prakriti, the energy of the Supreme Lord. But one of the two, the jiva, is conscious. The other, Prakriti, is not conscious. That is the difference. Therefore, the jiva prakriti is called superior, because the jiva has consciousness, which is similar to the Lord's. The Lord's is supreme consciousness, however, and one should not claim that the jiva, the living entity, is also supremely conscious. The living being cannot be supremely conscious at any stage of his perfection, and the theory that he can be so is a misleading theory. Conscious he may be, but he is not perfectly or supremely conscious. The distinction between the jiva and the Ishvara will be explained in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is Kshetrajnana. Is that right?
Kshetrajna. Yeah.
Kshetrajna, conscious, as is the living being. But the living being is conscious of his particular body, whereas the Lord is conscious of all bodies. Because he lives in the heart of every living being, he is conscious of the psychic movements of the particular jivas, he being Krishna. We should not forget this. It is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as Ishvara, as the controller, and that he is giving directions for the living entity to act as he desires. The living entity forgets what to do. First of all, he makes a determination to act in a certain way, and then he is entangled in the acts and reactions of his own karma. After giving up one type of body, he enters another type of body, as we put on and take off old clothes. As the soul thus migrates, he suffers the actions and reactions of his past activities. These activities can be changed when the living being is in the mode of goodness, insanity, and understands what sort of activities he should adopt. If he does so, then all the actions and reactions of his past activities can be changed. Consequently, karma is not eternal. Therefore, we stated that of the 5 items, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, time, and karma, 4 are eternal, whereas karma is not eternal. Okay, I think we'll end there because we're already at about a minute and 10, but I know we talked for a bit before we actually started recording, so it might be right around an hour.
I need to go pick up the kiddos.
Yeah.
All right. That was good, man. I can't wait to keep reading. Woo!
Thank you for anyone that did listen, and we'll be back.
All right. Looking forward to it.